Okay, let's do this one last time, yeah?
The first video game I ever played was Spider-Man on the PlayStation 1. You know the one, where the city is covered in some weird fog, and so instead of swinging off rooftops, you have to swing off Uncle Ben's soul. God, I'm old. I have constantly seen the evolution of Spider-Man games throughout my life. From the PS2 era of Spider-Man 2 with its revolutionary physics-based swinging system to the absolute high you get when using the black suit in Web of Shadows. It's truly amazing. Then we somehow regressed with Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was somehow worse than its own predecessor. And then we got a glimpse of him. My jaw dropped to the floor the first time I saw the trailer for this game. It really made me feel like a broke young adult trying to juggle responsibilities so I don't end up on the streets. Let me tell you, man, being an adult sucks. Being in school was way better, and the animation industry scares me. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, back to Spider-Man. The 2018 Spider-Man game was a love letter to the character with great characterization for every... No, not you. Great characterization for everyone, and a pretty decently written comic book story, brought to life with a grand sense of scale in the game. So when they announced Miles Morales to take place before Spider-Man 2, I was ecstatic. And to the game's credit, it delivered. Big time. From a gameplay perspective, it's definitely more fun than the first one because of the added mechanics and the Venom powers. It may be a bit on the shorter side for a full price game, but it's still fun nonetheless. However, when it comes to writing, oh boy, I was not happy with the writing of this game. I have played this game multiple times and I still don't feel like it's a well written plot. And there is just one character whose writing I hate more than the others. One who could have been handled much better than she was. Phin Mason. Man, I have seen CW villains with better writing than Phin. And that's saying a lot. And it's so sad because I think the actress and the art team did a fantastic job bringing her character to life with a decent, if slightly less memorable design, and her voice acting is really top notch. But she is, in my opinion, just coddled by the writers, to the point that it almost feels like the game is just constantly trying to justify her actions rather than letting her be in a grey area and having the player form their own conclusions. See, generally in superhero media, a villain isn't a foe to be crushed, but usually an ideology to be conquered. Doc Ock is the result of an intelligent man focusing on his pride instead of humility. The Joker is the result of letting your one bad day define you in a negative way instead of spinning it into a positive force. And in my opinion, Phin Mason just sucks as an antagonist, and it all boils down to one simple thing: bad writing. See, in the Spider-Man PS4 game, Peter's connection to the other characters can be felt even with his interactions, even outside of the story cutscenes. With Yuri, it's friendly but somewhat mysterious. With Otto, Peter almost sees him as a father figure, someone to respect. With Martin Lee, it's an admiration for someone who, in his eyes, is doing just as much good as Spider-Man for the world. And so when these relationships crumble, we feel the pain that stems from their betrayal. Every punch thrown at Otto and Martin comes with the weight of beating down on the man who you used to respect. Hunting down every one of Yuri's clues comes with the weight of knowing you could not save her soul. We never have to be shown how Peter came to know Martin or Yuri or Otto. Hell, even between Norman, Martin and Otto, we can still piece together what kind of a relationship they have by the way they interact. I mean, sure, we get a couple of hints to how they came to know each other. Stuff like collectibles in the backpacks, audio recordings that can be missed. But we never really have to be told what kind of a relationship they have. Every interaction they have with the main character is meaningful. With Phin, the story feels the need to shove their history down our throat every chance it gets. It doesn't feel very organic. There's only so many times that the game can tell me that they worked on a science project together, or how they went to a concert together, or them talking about how they got out of touch, before the viewer just goes, okay, we get it, you guys were besties. It just comes across as hollow and empty, in my opinion. If that wasn't enough, Phin also comes across as a massive hypocrite in her own story arc. One of her biggest points of conflict with Miles is the fact that Miles lied to her about being Spider-Man. Which is crazy because she sure as shit didn't tell Miles that she was the Tinkerer. I mean, yeah, telling your friend that you're a superhero is not the same as telling your friend that you're a domestic terrorist. But still, the point still counts. At least that's what I think. And speaking of their relationship, she knowingly attacked the rally of Rio Morales, knowing what Miles had gone through with his father very recently. Now, you can say that she's trying to accomplish what she needs to do to heal from her brother's death and to take down Roxxon, but she still put the life of a close friend's family at risk for her goals. The Underground are not just some small-time team of crooks. They are equipped with extremely dangerous technology that normal police can't even stand a chance against. She is basically supplying domestic terrorists with super weapons. And the real issue with that is that the game never really calls Phin's hypocrisy out, and she is never held accountable for her actions. Now, there is a very reasonable argument to be made that her death was her being held accountable and her taking responsibility for what she had done, but the way the game presents it as some sort of a final act of redemption is just not fair. The game constantly tries to paint her as someone who is misunderstood or a girl in pain. And look, the thing is, it's not a mutually exclusive thing to be in pain and also be a bad person. Look at Martin Lee, for example. Regardless of how you look at it, he is a monster who risked the lives of thousands upon thousands of people for the sake of his own revenge against Osborn. And the game never paints him as misunderstood. The game paints him as someone who is undoubtedly in the wrong and has Spider-Man trying to make him understand why he is wrong in his actions. But in case of Miles Morales, the game wants you to think that, oh, Phin is kind of in a grey area where she's operating outside of the methods of Spider-Man and the police to take down Roxxon, who is a very dangerous company. But that just doesn't fit, because more often than not, she comes across as a spoiled brat who is just not willing to listen to anyone. And yeah, people do crazy things in grief. But let's talk about her plan for a second. The super genius inventor who made nanotech that, you know what, I'll get back to that. The super genius inventor's brilliant plan to take down a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Roxxon was to nuke their building in an act of terrorism. Not only destroying the building, but potentially hurting civilians that may be in the area. I mean, look, Phin makes all these claims about how the explosion would not hurt anyone other than Roxxon and how people would be safe and they would not be hurt, but she doesn't know that. You can never know that for sure. What if there's a civilian on the premises? What if there are innocent workers who are just doing their jobs? And even setting that aside for the moment, the genius inventor never realized that a multi-billion-dollar company like Roxxon would have insurance? Hell, screw the insurance. They never even realized that a multi-billion-dollar company like Roxxon wouldn't be destroyed because of a single building being nuked. And it's not like destroying this one building is gonna stop Newform either, because there are other Newform generators all over the city. They're not as big in scale as the one at Roxxon Plaza, but they're still good enough to study and maybe recreate. And even after all of this, when she's being warned by Miles that the Newform has been changed, she doesn't listen. And to be fair, I think this is just her being angry at Miles at not wanting to listen what he wants to say. But I feel like it's just these smaller things that all pile up one on top of the other and make a giant pile of shit when it comes to her writing. Now, I want to reiterate that I actually really like Phin's character. I think she could have been great. I think she could have been written very, very well. And the fact that she wasn't kind of bothers me. Now, in my opinion, if Miles called her out in the game constantly about how she's being a hypocrite, about how her motives and her actions do not align correctly, about how she's basically funding domestic terrorists, about many other things. Because as it stands, the entire narrative has to bend over backwards to make us feel like she's a good person stuck in a bad situation, when everything else she does just proves the opposite. And let's talk about her technology for a second. Oh boy. In the first game, Peter Parker and Otto Octavius, two geniuses, two of the smartest people in Marvel Comics in general, were struggling to make a pair of good prosthetics for the whole game. But this teenager was able to build technology that makes Otto's arms look like child's play. Her tech is the biggest ex machina bullshit I've seen. It can literally do anything the plot demands it to. Now, here's the thing. Programmable matter is cool. Nanotechnology is awesome. And I'd be fine with that technology existing in this universe. No problems there. But it shouldn't be a teenager building it in her garage. This is something I'd see Tony Stark make, or maybe Reed Richards. Not a 17-year-old in a garage. And yeah, I know Phineas Mason is supposed to be a genius inventor in Marvel, but this is not the same tinkerer as the one from comics. And her tech is basically magic. What can this stuff not do? It can become a shield, it can become a gun, giant blades, you name it. And she made this tech before she ever joined the Underground too, which means she made this with zero resources. And it kind of trivializes the journey of both Peter and Otto from the first game. Now, in my opinion, if they replaced Phin with Rick, a lot of issues would be solved. They could still have their own cake and eat it with that small change. They can have the personal connection with the villain and also the plot that they wanted to go with. If Phin was the one who died in the New Form accident and Rick was the one who was thirsty for revenge, a lot of things kind of even out. You can still have that personal connection with Rick, but he's also older and could be presented as a genius scientist, so the tech seems believable. And his irrationality can be him dealing with his grief. At the same time, instead of making him feel misunderstood, have him be unapologetically focused, like Martin Lee. Knowing what he does is wrong, but also forcing himself to go through with it in some misguided sense of justice towards Phin. Or if you still want to keep Phin, that's fine too. Have Rick be the younger brother who was a close friend of Miles, and Phin be the older sister who was basically guiding Miles and Rick when they were younger. And then have Rick be the one who dies and Phin is the older sister grieving for her younger brother. And that still kind of works. But as it stands, I just don't know, man. I don't like her character.
But that's just me. Regardless, those are just my thoughts on why I think Phin is a bad character. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think she's well written? Do you guys like her writing in the game? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing more videos like this soon. Maybe consider checking out my Persona 5 video on why I think Joker is a fantastic silent protagonist. Or if you're interested in some Persona 3 content, maybe check out my video on why I think Lovers is a horrible boss fight. In the meantime, let me know if you guys would like some different content, like maybe some art stuff where I'm drawing for these videos, or maybe you'd like to see me do some 3D artwork, stuff like that. Unfortunately, this video took a bit longer than I expected to make due to how many drawings there are, and drawing Spider-Man's is kinda time consuming. I'm gonna try to make my videos more regular. This is Demonically Inspired, signing out.